Guys, what's up? It's Nicole. Today I want to talk to you about how I got my first car. So let's just get right into it. So if you've ever had a car before, then you know that getting your first car and choosing what it's going to be is probably one of the hardest things that you'll ever do. Spending the money on it is probably the second. Um, I always had it in my mind that I would get my dream car, which at the time was a 2015 Chevrolet Camaro, because my dad had one, had the older version a while back, and I just fell in love with it. I wanted to get one of those, and I was saving to get one of those, but I changed my mind. Now, the reason for that is at the time I was going to college, and I was spending close to $150 a month just to get back and forth, and it wasn't worth it to me. I was losing way more money than I probably would have made my first year out of college. And so I looked into purchasing a vehicle. Now, at the time, I only had $900, and that might not seem a lot to some of you guys. Maybe you guys might think that is a lot, but to me, it wasn't enough to get the dream car that I wanted. Now, I could have put a down payment on one and drove right off the lot, but I was being practical, and I thought about it. And putting a down payment on a car meant I would spend more on that car than what it was actually worth. And I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to be in debt or have the car taken away from me if I couldn't make a payment. So I looked around, I used Facebook Marketplace, I talked to hundreds of people about cars. There were several that I was looking forward to getting and then quickly changed my mind after I did research. And I ended up settling on a 2004 Hyundai Santa Fe. Now, I didn't find it on the marketplace. It was actually my brother's. He came to stay with us, and after some negotiations, he took my $900, and I drove away with his Hyundai Santa Fe. Now, it did have some issues, and it still does. It still has a broken window, and it does have a broken wheel bearing, but it drives great. It's always gotten me from A to B, and it lowered the amount of money I was spending a month. I went from spending $150 a month to get to school to spending $80 a month on gas and oil changes. Although you shouldn't get your oil change every month, I get mine every 3 months or every 3,000 miles. You should read your owner's manual about that. But it was a very hard experience that I went through because I thought that getting a car was just getting the car, but I quickly realized that there were other things that went into it. The second the car was in my name, I had to get tags and a license plate. Now, I heard from various people that it was $80, but actually I spent $95. It was very confusing at the time. I wasn't really sure what to do, and I ended up not even buying screws for my license plate, which, buy screws for your license plate, because if you forget to buy them, do you know how hard it is to actually find a store that sells them? I had to go to Walmart, and they only had one pack left, thankfully. But it was very hard to put them on because I didn't actually have a drill to drill holes into the back where they're supposed to go, because there were none there on the car. So I ended up actually just sticking it in the windshield until I could get someone to do it for me. And thankfully, one of the janitors at a school nearby my apartment decided that he would do it for me, which was very nice. And I was very thankful for that because I wasn't sure what to do about it. Then the next thing was insurance, which insurance is the biggest scam ever because I went to so many different places, and because I'm a new driver, they try to hike my rates. Liberty Mutual says that they create a custom payment plan for you, but they lie because they said that it would be cheaper than the other ones, but they said they wanted me to pay $450 a month. That's not cheaper. That's not. And then I went to Allstate, and Allstate said they wanted me to pay $320 a month, but it's cheaper than Liberty Mutual. But I don't have that much money to spare a month. So someone told me to go to AAA, so I went to AAA, and they were like, well, we can't really take you on because you're a new driver and we don't take new drivers, which is bullcrap because one of my friends has AAA. But I went with it and they sent me to Progressive, and I talked to a very, very nice man on the phone who told me that all I would have to pay is $139 a month, which I actually can afford, which I was very grateful for that. And so if you're looking for a new insurance and you're a new driver, Progressive. They're usually the cheapest one if you're paying it yourself. Now, if you're adding yourself to your mom or your dad or someone else's insurance plan, go with that. That's cheap for them or for you, whoever's paying it. I'm paying my own, so I went with what was cheapest, and Progressive was the cheapest. Then there were other things that came along. My first oil change was terrible. I ended up paying for a cheaper version of what I actually needed. I needed all the fluids to be changed, but I didn't know that at the time because I was new to everything, so I just got the oil change, and I went 3 months without any fluids in the car except for oil. Don't do that. Luckily, it didn't destroy anything. Things thankfully got back to normal when I had it done again a couple months later. I had my first flat within the first month of getting the car. That was a fun experience because I quickly learned that Progressive's roadside assistance is not as helpful as they have advertised. But thankfully, I had AAA roadside, and they were able to help me, and I quickly got another tire on there. I did not change it myself, but I have learned in the most recent months how to do that, so I can do that on my own now. It was a very gruesome first 6 months. I witnessed so many different accidents. I was almost in a couple of those accidents because people can't drive in my neighborhood. But thankfully, nothing bad happened. It's been almost a year now since I got the car. It's still going strong. I get the oil change and the proper fluids changed every 3 months or every 3,000 miles, depending on which one comes first. I'm actually very glad that I went with the Hyundai Santa Fe. It's been a great first car. I'm going to probably keep it for a few more months or maybe a few more years. It's only got, I think, 185,000 miles on it, and the transmission and the engine are still going strong, so I'm very happy about that. If I had bought my dream car, most likely I would not be able to afford the insurance because I did ask a couple companies what would happen if I had had that car, and I was quoted about $600 from several of them, and Progressive said they would have probably charged me around $300 to $400, and I definitely can't afford that. So I'm very thankful I went with the safe vehicle instead of my impractical vehicle. Otherwise, I would be beyond broke and without a car because they would have taken it from me because I couldn't make the payment. So, yeah, that's the story on how I got my first car. I got it from my brother, and I just wanted to talk to you guys about that, tell you guys about it so you know a little bit more about me, and I cannot wait to talk to you guys Friday.